Good evening. It is Tuesday, May 30th. I am Jeffrey Wooden. This is the Recreation and Parks Committee. I'm joined today by Mr. Rozelle and Mr. Schilling. We're here to talk about the Miami Shores Equipment Shed, trying to increase the cost to $125,416.80. This was an item that had come up previously, but $545. It is $545. Thank you, Mr. Rozelle. Mr. Titterington.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are asking for additional funds for the storage shed. This was an item that Council authorized at $112,000, primarily with using ARPA funds. After the contractor got into the designs and the engineers reviewed that, they discovered that because it was in the flood protection area and much of the golf course is in that area, that FEMA required some additional design work and permitting costs that exceeded the $112,000. So what we are now asking for is authorization to increase it to $125,416.80, because I guess we can be that precise now. And the difference, we can use ARPA funds, which at the end of the year may or may not need a reappropriation, but it would be minor. And we are asking for emergency since the shed is being constructed right now, and we want to make sure we can pay the contractor.
Mr. Rozelle. Okay. Mr. Schilling.
Yes, I have a couple of questions. Fortunately, I had the opportunity to go by that shed several times a week. And, the materials on that shed were delivered in mid-October of last year. So the wood, the framing, all the wood has sat out over the last 8 months. We had a very wet winter, and I've noticed that some of these boards that we have purchased are warped. Almost every board that had exposure to the outside weather has turned black. And my question is, I don't know what this black stuff is. It reminds me when I went to Myrtle Beach after that big tornado rolled through 15 or 20 years ago. And I was looking at structures that were damaged, and it reminded me of the black mold that was formed because the interiors of these structures were exposed to water and outside forces. And I would hate to think that, I know this building is probably not going to be air conditioned, and I can imagine this thing cooking over the summers, and that mold continues to grow, that it may be a health hazard at some point in time to our employees. And they have to go into the building to either work on equipment or pull equipment out from the back. The whole thing just is, I'm concerned about it for the sake of our employees. And has anybody else brought this to your attention? Mr. Titterington?
The Director of Golf is here in the audience, and perhaps he can answer that question, but I think the Council can rest assured that we wouldn't put substandard materials up that would risk the health of...
So what's the black stuff on the wood?
Mr. Boer, if you would care to join us.
What I can tell you is that the subcontractor did come out to the facility last week, I believe on Monday, which I think would have been May 22nd. They did replace wood that they deemed to be damaged, and there was no indication given as to anything beyond that. So I can't speak directly to your question if that's...
So we have no idea what that black stuff is on. And again, it's not only in the stack of wood, but it's in the trusses. So the trusses that sat out. Especially on I guess would be the bottom of the truss. They're essentially all black, and then I didn't look inside because again they were sort of open, but all and along especially the trusses that were on the top of the pile all had this black stuff on them. And I guess I would maybe ask the city to look at this, because I think we should know what it is, and maybe hire somebody that has a license in mold remediation, to at least be able to tell us what we're dealing with. Because I don't think there's anybody on staff that can go out there and test that and find out what it is. And I would think that, I would think that the contractor would be more than agreeable to do this, because, they don't want a reputation of putting up a bad structure.
Yeah, I'm sure a discussion you had there, but, yeah.
So that's my only question and request on that.
Okay. Do any other council members have any questions? Does anyone in the audience have any questions? Pleasure.
Move forward with emergency.
I agree as well, Mr. Schilling.
I can't say we can go forward until we find out what that black stuff is on the wood. So that's a no.
So that would be a vote of 2-1. 2-1 to move forward. Is there anything else to come before the Recreation Park Committee tonight?
No, sir.
We are adjourned. Okay.